Shona,
Nico!
can you tell us a bit about your film, A Song for My Father?
Yes, of course. So, A Song for My Father is a poetic experimental documentary that I started writing in April of 2024 to deal with the grief that I was feeling after my dad passed away. My dad was a musician, he was a bass player, he was a guitar player, he played like a lot of instruments, and my family was very musical. I think as a result of that, but just because like we loved the guy so much, and my little brother Eddie is a very talented jazz trumpet player, and it kind of explores that relationship, especially how my brother was able to connect with my dad through music, and how he still is able to, and how that connection doesn't necessarily leave just because someone is gone. Yeah.
How do you feel like your experience and background as a musician informed some of the choices while making the film?
Yeah. Um, I feel like a lot of the time just in life I think of everything in terms of how it relates to music, and this film was like no exception to that. I think it's hard for me sometimes to communicate my feelings verbally, but I have an easier time being able to like express things creatively or through art or through music. So this film I think also speaks to that and came from that, and it felt like my brother and I were making a song. I spent so much of my childhood just like playing music in the living room with my brothers and my dad, and this felt like kind of just another version of that, which was really cool. But I think it definitely helped inform a lot of the decisions, and I love making films that are more driven by music. I feel like film and music could go like very
100%,
hand in
yeah.
hand. So it was really cool to be able to do something that is so personal to my life and so connected to the things that I love, music and film.
And you mentioned, like, when you were making it and with art in general, you find it easier to communicate yourself through artistic means rather than just, like, verbally saying it. And that's one thing that I feel really stood out to me with the doc, is it doesn't really hold your hand about a narrative or what it's necessarily about. It just gives you the space to feel. And I really, really like that, and I think it's a lot more powerful that way. And I feel like from a filmmaking perspective, that kind of thing is very difficult. Can you sort of walk me through how you think you were able to achieve that?
Yeah, I think grief is a very tricky subject for a lot of people. I think it's tackled in many ways. I think you see it in the media, and before I had experienced it myself, my kind of only ideas of what grief were are like what I saw on TV, what I saw in movies. There's like a main character who their parents passed away for the lore, and just like character building, but you don't really understand what that means. And I think for the film, like there was just so many people telling me what I could feel or what they knew how to feel, and that just gets so exhausting and so tiring because there's no way to feel or understand grief in that way. Like every single time you will grieve someone or something, it's always going to be extremely different. So I wanted to create my own version of that, of being able to deal with that in my own way, but also create more of a reflective space for someone else who might be feeling that same thing and might be able to grasp on to anything that was put in that film, because you can feel just very alone. And I think by not telling the audience what they need to feel or understand, it allows them to figure out what that means for themselves.
That's really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
On a technical level, I feel like this documentary is, again, super, super strong. And I'm wondering, with a piece as experimental and poetic as this one is, what's the process of conceptualizing that in pre-production?
Yes, it was honestly, it was really fun and special. Like everybody who worked on the film are like just close friends and family, and I spent a lot of time kind of just trauma dumping with people and friends, and the film is made up of entirely improv. So my brother's trumpet was improvised on the shooting days, and my dad's bass recordings were from old files where he was just like improvising, and that was really cool to piece together because it kind of felt like I was piecing together the story that like he left. But spent a lot of time being able to form deeper relationships with my friends, with the crew. We stayed at my family's home while filming, and it was just like this big, it felt like a big hug. Like, this was my favorite film that I've shot so far, that I've been able to direct or even like work on.
Yeah.
Everybody was just so supportive, and I think that was a big piece of it. But like, it's hard to take all of those pieces and turn them into something that makes sense because it is more experimental. So I think it was like, we spent a lot of time just listening through these recordings and listening to the music, everybody, and when we felt something or we thought something connected, a lot of things were like a group decision, even though it was more personal, which was super cool. Also, just like thinking of where this came from, I guess. There was a lot of time, like, after my dad had passed, I didn't listen to music for like a year, which is really weird because, like, I love music, like, I'm a musician. So that was really weird. And it was like, it didn't feel weird. And I remember I was talking to one of my friends, and they were like, "What have you been listening to?" And I was like, haven't been listening to music. And then I said that out loud, and I'm like, it's kind of weird. And I think just going from that experience of like ignoring something, like ignoring a pain because you don't quite fully understand it. And grief isn't something that you need to understand, but I just kind of pushed all of those feelings away, and I was like, whoa, that's not gonna help me, to be honest. And I think when I was able to listen to music again, I felt much closer to my dad and to my brother and to my family. And I think that this doc is another example of kind of just listening to the music again. Anytime in my life I feel like I'm ignoring something for the sake of just that I'm feeling pain from it, I remind myself to listen to the music, like listen to the pain, and finding my way through by doing that.
That's beautiful. What do you think was the most challenging, whether it be technical or emotional, part of bringing the film to life?
I would say emotionally, like very emotionally charged doc for sure. And just, there were times, unfortunately, I felt like I had to kind of look at it from the outside in order just to get stuff done, because timelines and schedules. And that's kind of weird, I guess. That's a weird experience to like look at a doc that you made about something very personal to you and just be like, okay, objectively, like, does this make some kind of sense? Like, if somebody is watching this who isn't a close friend or family, would they be able to get something from that?
Yeah.
And I think that was a very important lesson that was honestly very helpful. Yeah. But yeah, it was tricky, and definitely shed a lot of tears, but you know, it was rewarding in the end. It was worth all of that.
What do you think the most rewarding part was?
I think there was a moment when we finished it. We were watching it. Jackie, the editor, goats. We spent a lot of time just like editing things over and over again, piecing things together, like seeing how they would fit. And I guess I hadn't thought about when it would be done and like what that would feel like, and if I don't know what that would look like, if I would be proud of it, if I would feel it was right for the subject matter and everything. But I think I was just like alone watching the cut in my room, and just feeling proud of it myself, I think felt really good, and I just had a really cathartic cry, and this whole experience just felt like it led up to that moment of just like, I felt like I healed so much through the process, like being able to make art in a way of healing and like putting your pain out there is so rewarding and so healing, and I think, yeah, that was definitely the most rewarding part.
I mean, that's what art is for. So the fact that you were able to execute that for yourself, most importantly, is huge. And last thing, if you want viewers to take away one thing from watching the film, what would you want to be?
I would want it to be that you're not alone. Grief or just like any pain in your life is so sometimes personal to you, and you have to sometimes go through that journey on your own. You can look for reason or understanding in all kinds of areas of your life, but you will figure out a way through, and in that process you are not alone, and there are so many people that care about you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shona.
Thank you, Nico.
Love it. This was so much fun.